Hari Om. Start with a prayer. Om Samasta Jana Kalyane Niratam Karunamayam Namami Chinmayam Devam Sadgurum Brahma Vidvaram Vasudeva Sutam Devam Kamsachanura Devaki Paramanandam Krishnam Vande Jagadgurum Tvameva Mata Cha Pitatvameva Tvameva Bandhuscha Sakhatvameva Tvameva Vidya Dravinam Tvameva Tvameva Sarvam Mama Deva Deva Tvameva Sarvam Gurudeva Deva. Hari Om. We are analyzing the fundamentals of Advaita Vedanta and how it differs from the other philosophical traditions or the theories. And Advaita is actually non-dualism, and it's one great Advaita master said that non not only applies to duality but applies to ism also. That means it's not a religious statement, it's not a statement of a belief system, it is about the truth. And non-duality is not monoism, because I am seeing the duality, I am experiencing the duality, but non-duality is the truth is beyond that which is non-dual, which is one without any duality. So now we are analyzing that parinama and vivarta, that means transformation-less transformation versus the destructive transformation. And there is destructive transformation in this world, and at the same time we have to say there is that which remains the same in the transformations. So that's which is law of conservation means. Law of conservation means one transforms the other, but it is conserved in the process. So the matter is conserved in all the transformations of matter, and that's what is the balancing equations for a chemist does. Matter this side has to be same as matter, and the energy this side has to be same as the other energy in the other side. Otherwise there will be loss of energy. And according to Einstein, matter and energy are somewhat same, other than through some transformation also. So essentially we are talking about law of conservation. They apply only for the matter and the energy, which is also matter, but here there is an absolute law of conservation, and that which exists can never cease to exist, and that which is non-existent can never come into existence, and that's the law of absolute conservation that Krishna states in the beginning of the Gita Upadesasara itself. So why are you crying? Because you are changeless entity and there is no reason for you to cry. Now, this is important to understand that in all these changing things, there has to be changeless entity, and that is Brahman. And how do you know that it's a Brahman? And that's why the scripture becomes important, because the Brahman cannot be seen. In the case of matter and energy, it's still tangible entities, but we are talking about that beyond that. It is that which is pure existent consciousness, and that is apparently becoming into many, and that has to remain the same if it is a vivarta. At the same time, transformation is appearing. That's the Advaitic position, and that is also the essence that is being pointed out in the scripture also. What is saying it? It is only from the absolute point, it is a vivarta. Only from the relative point, it is parinama. Not from the absolute point, it is parinama, as some of the darshanikas, that means the philosophers, they propose. So therefore, what should I do for realization is also important, because in and through these transformations, that which is destructive transformations, I had to see that which is remain the same in spite of these transformations, that which is the bottom line, that is changeless entity. So from my own point, I can see my body is changing continuously, my mind is changing continuously, what I used to love, what I used to hate is continuously changing, and my intellect is also continuously changing, and my concepts and beliefs and things are all continuously changing as I evolve myself. So there is a change at the body level, mind level, intellect level, but I say I am, and this whatever the childhood experience I can recollect, and I was there, all those things, therefore I am there, the same I am is able to recollect back my adulthood experiences and all the states, as though even though body, mind and intellect changing, I am am not changing, and therefore in all the changeless entity there is a vivarta, that is changeless entity, which is identifying with the changing entity, and therefore it is a vivarta from the point of I am, and it is a parinama from the point of body. I cannot become again child again, and so on and so forth. So all these things need to be understood, because it's both experiential and at the same time the logic also says same thing, and also the scriptural statement. So it is the shastram, and it's the anubhavam, and also yukti. So these are in the order. The shastram, the science becomes prominent in identifying what is real, and it should not be contradictory to my experiences. At the same time, the knowledge has to analyze contradictory experiences also. Experience is not a knowledge, but I have to have an understanding through the experiences what is the essence also. So experience says there is sunrise and sunset, but knowledge says there is no sunrise and sunset. But with the knowledge that there is no sunrise and sunset, I have to explain why I am experiencing sunrise and sunset also. That is the real knowledge. So knowledge doesn't negate experience, but only gives the explanation or understanding of the experiences. Even if the experiences are contradictory, knowledge is not contradictory. Knowledge has to explain contradictory experiences, and that's what is called absolute knowledge, firm abiding knowledge. So the knowledge says I am changeless entity throughout my in the life itself, at least in this life. And when I kick the bucket, people say he is dead and gone. That means he has gone somewhere, and what is dead is only the matter is no more conducive to express his vasanas, therefore he is looking for another body. And that's what Krishna starts essentially, Dehinosmin yata dehe kaumaram yavanam jara. Just as that which is inside is only the body changing from the childhood and all that, but the one death is also is another change, is only changing this body, and because this dress is not sufficient to express himself in the other, therefore he is going in search of a different body. So it is I am, there is a changeless entity in the changing thing, and that's called Vivartavada. And that's what essentially the Advaita Vedanta sticks to as the basis of foundation of one becoming many. Now the question is how one becomes a many. It itself is a question that's being answered by different acharyas or the philosophers. So how did creation started? So other philosophers talks about an intelligent creation, and whereas the Advaita Vedanta as well as some other philosophers also agree that there is a material also, upadana karanam. So from the other philosophical point, says how did Lord create the world? Say they do not talk about where did he get the matter to create it, whereas the scripture says, Vedanta says, he himself became many, and therefore he himself from which the whole universe came, and that's how the Brahman is also being defined. So Brahman, who is changeless and no creation at all, as though getting created, as though undergoing creation. And how did he creation? He says, Yato va imani bhutani jayante yena jatani jivanti yat prem savisham vishanti tad vijnasasva tat brahmeti. That is Brahman. What is Brahman? That from which the whole universe came, by which it is sustained, and into which it goes back. By which it is sustained means it has to be material cause. That means the material is nothing but Brahman only. And both the Advaita Vedanta, even the Visishta Advaita Vedanta subscribe to this, that Brahman himself became many into, he is the material cause also. And therefore, Upadana Karanam. Upadana means material cause. Not only is an intelligent cause, so it is an Upadanaka, material cause. So, Abhinna Nimitta Upadana Karanam. This is non-differentiable, intelligent, and the material cause himself is that. So, that's a Karanam, Karanam, Karta. These are in the Vishnu Sahasranama. He says he is a Karanam, Karanam and Karta. He is the creator and he is an instrument for creation and also is a cause for creation. All that is one only, because there cannot be two things. So in the creation itself, we are coming down from the pure existent Satchidananda. When you talk about the creation, now we have taking a role, a modification. So this is an apparent modification within the creation, and there is one who is a creator who knows how to create, and that we call, even Advaita Vedanta is called Ishvara. So Ishvara is the one who creating many. It's called Adhisthana Devata, or the one under which the whole creation. And how does he create? He says, therefore, he need a power to creation, so therefore he has the power. And therefore, he is endowed with the power. So Brahman point, there is nothing of this type. But when we come to creation, Hari Om, there was an interruption due to internet. Sorry for that. Anyway, we have to put up with these things. So we continue. We are analyzing the fundamentals of Advaita Vedanta. As we are discussing now how one became many. And we brought in now Ishvara. So we have in the Advaita Vedanta two aspects, Brahman, and that is from the point of pure, and that is Paramarthikam, Paramarthika Satyam. It is one without a second, without any differences or differentiation, and there is no creation from that point. Now when we talk about the one who is looking at the creation and asking how did this problem, this is a creation, who created it, and for him to satisfy until he realizes that himself there is no creation, because for him we have to first provide a logical explanation of what he is and what he sees and how do we account that, until his mind is prepared enough, until he can readily drop this to see the absolute reality. So therefore the mind has to be step by step, has to be prepared, and therefore Vedanta comes to our rescue in terms of what he called Adhyaropa Apavada. So it goes by step and goes through exhaustive analysis of creation and also analyzes what is individual and what is the world and Ishvara and what is Jiva, Jagat and Ishvara, and what is Ishvara Srishti and what is the Jiva Srishti, what's the cause for Ishvara Srishti, what's the cause for Jiva Srishti, and where is this Maya, Avidya, all that is to be understood as we progress one side. So once we go all that, at the Paramarthika level, everything is dropped out because there is only one without a second, and all that has to be understood at that level. So the understanding should be step by step, and that's what is Advaita Vedanta provides, as essentially also Vedanta provides itself, and that is called Adhyaropa Apavada. Adhyaropa means in the step by step we are taking temporarily, this is what it is, and accept it and proceed further, and when you go to the next step, drop the previous one, that's not real, now go to the next level. It is like when we are studying physics, we study first Rutherford model and then we drop it and go to the next level. Why do we have to drop it? When we are going to drop it, why do we need to study that one? Only when we prepare that mind, we see why Rutherford model came into picture, what the problems in that, and we go to the next level, then we can appreciate that second level much better. And same way, when we go to the classical mechanics and the quantum mechanics, classical mechanics is not negated, but its validity is limited only in the certain regimes, and also quantum mechanics, it doesn't its applicability at that level. All that has to be understood as we go step by step. The same as called what we call Adhyaropa Apavada. Now we are talking about the Brahman in Advaita Vedanta. We postulate at least a temporarily Ishvara. The point of the transaction level. At the creation level, there is a creator, and it's a creation, and it's an intelligent creation. Therefore, there has to be an intelligence being, and that being intelligent cannot be inside the creation, cannot be outside the creation. He cannot be inside the creation because anything inside the creation gets limited by the creation. So, but he has to be beyond the creation because he is that who is creating the whole universe itself. So, he has to be beyond the creation, and there cannot be anything anything outside the creation, because outside also has to be created. So outside also becomes inside creation. Therefore, he is neither inside the creation nor outside the creation. That means he himself is nothing but creation itself. So where is Ishvara? Ishvara is the whole creation itself is nothing but Ishvara. But at the same time, how can this be Ishvara? So we have to understand that in and through, I have to see Ishvara also. So Ishvara is invisible, because every religion also says he is omnipresent and he is omniscient, and all that is being discussed at the same time. Omnipresent means what? He is in everything also. Sarva Vyapaka. That means he is pervading everything. At the same time, I don't see it, because it is not something that is form, because any form will be that which can be seen, and he is that which pervades everything is formless only. But I can invoke him any form, because every form is his form only. Therefore, for a prayer, I can invoke him any particular form, understanding that he is infinite, and I am only invoking in this form. Asmin Bimbe Mahavishnu Avahayami. So when we do puja, we put a turmeric paste there and says, in this bimbam, in this idol, please come down. We are inviting the Lord to come, knowing very well it is only the turmeric paste there. At the same time, we Mahaganapatim Avahayami. Once we invite him and invoke the presence of the Lord, then we treat it as though Lord has come. Then we have to do, when a great person comes, say, do you want a Coke or a water, cold water? All those things, the host has to offer everything, because you invited him, and when you invite him, obviously you have to do all the samskara, all the things that whatever you do when you got a chief guest at the house. And that's why all the pujas is, you have to do asam samarpayami, naivedyam samarpayami, all those rituals that are done in the puja after inviting the Lord to come into a particular form that you are doing puja. Then you do all the 16 steps are there of how you treat a great guest. That too is a guest of the whole universal Lord has come, whom you invited. Therefore you treat him properly, and then you say, sir, now you can go, because you are a busy person, and therefore you can send him off also. All that is involved in the puja. And that invocation is important to recognize the presence of the Lord everywhere. And that is the idea. But once I understand that that is the Lord everywhere, then these pujas have fulfilled the purpose itself. Then I can invoke the presence of the Lord anywhere that I see. So Jagada Ishadihi Yukta Sevanam. Say Jagat itself is Ishvara. That's what Bhagavan Ramana Maharshi says. That every universe, everything is nothing but the Lord himself. With that attitude, I had to transact with the world. So that should be understood. So we brought in from the Brahman, which is Paramarthikam, where there is no difference of any kind, into Ishvara, a creator, and therefore the one who has to create has to be a Sarvajna. That means he should know how to create. If I am going to create a pot, I should know how to create a pot. So I should have the know-how of how to create a pot. And I should have the skill also of how to make a pot. Even though I may know, like most of the engineers here, they know how to design a house, but they may not know how to drill a nail there. We need some technician to come. But because here God cannot go for technicians, so himself has to build it, and himself has the material has to come from him. So therefore he is Sarvajnaha and Sarvasektiman also. He is capable of doing everything. That's why Lord comes in different avatars, and to do whatever the job is required, he takes different vesham also. He may be a carpenter, or he may be coming as in between, inside as a half man, half elephant, or half lion. All that is required to solve a problem there, because that's what is the purpose of taking a form in order to solve a problem. And that's what is also called Bhagavan. So Ishvara is one who has the knowledge of the creation. The whole universe, whatever that scientist is discovering, is within the universe, and he should be knowing everything that is created in the universe. And we call it Sarvajnaha. That means he knows everything. And that is what is called Ishvaraha. And Sarvasektiman, he has all the skills in the universe, and therefore that's how we define the Ishvara. And these are called attributes of the Lord, because he is also most compassionate, because himself is becoming many. So every creation is nothing but himself. So he cannot but have compassion also. So all auspicious qualities he has to have, and therefore we call it, and Bhagavan Ramanuja calls it Ananta Kalyana Gunashrayam. He is the source or locus of infinite attributes, and Advaita Vedanta also agrees with that, where in this level of where we are talking about the creation level called transactional, where I am transacting with the world as though I am separate and this is separate, and this is called Vyavaharika Satyam. So first one is called Paramarthika Satyam. When you talk about the creation, within the creation, it's called transactional reality, or because this is different, that is different, and I have to transact. I am here and I am not there, therefore I have to go there, I have to move. Therefore, Desa Kala Vastu Parichinnatvam, that means limited by space, limited by time, and limited by object wise, and therefore I had to do transactions also within that. This is called Vyavaharikam. Vyavaharikam means transactional reality. And this is at this level of creation. And when you're talking about the Paramarthika, there is no difference of any kind. Now we are coming to a next level. So here we have to understand ontologically, from the absolute point, there is one aspect of reality, and at the relative point, we are coming to a different degree of reality also. And this difference of reality has to be understood, because one is absolute, there is no difference of any kind. Now we have all the differences, and in this we are talking about the transactional, and therefore all the differences of one object different from other object, and the objects are different because of attributes, and the Lord is different as though from the things that I transact with, because Lord is being infinite and I cannot transact with the Lord. I can invoke him in any particular form and transact with it, but pure Lord is all pervading, absolute pervading, and I cannot transact. He is auspicious, and therefore I can pray all to that Lord, but at the same time I can pray in a particular form. The mind sees that totality in that form. So from that point, I can invoke in any presence. So the transactional reality is different from absolute reality. And this is where the Advaita comes as a strong, because now we have absolute reality which is changeless. Now we have changing reality. So there is an ontologically, there is a difference in the state. Ontological means the degree of reality. There is a change in the state, and this is experiential and this is scriptural also. Scripture says that just as the gold becoming into many ornaments, there is a transformation, less transformation. At the same time, there is a parinama. Within that creation, there is a vivarta. In the same way, from the point of the reality, absolute reality, there is changeless entity. That existent principle cannot change, and that is absolute. Whereas at the existence of one form of an object into another form of an object, that is within the transformation, and this form can get destroyed, another form is arising, and that is called the parinama. So parinama is valid, and vivarta at the same time from the absolute level also. So there is a in the transactional world also we see there are degrees of reality, and this is what the scripture is, and that's what Vedanta is emphasizing, the 2 degrees of reality. In fact, there is a 3rd degree of reality. We'll go into details later, but we have Paramarthika Satyam, and we have Vyavaharika Satyam. And Vyavaharika Satyam has to depend upon the Paramarthika Satyam, because we said in everything changeless, there has to be changeless entity, and that itself is the essence of the whole universe itself, which is changeless. That's what essentially what the Upanishad says. Aitadatma midagum sarvam tat satyam sa atma tattvamasi svetaketo. In the teaching itself, it says Aitadatma idagam sarvam. So idagam sarvam means idam sarvam. This entire universe, idam. That means this is different, this is different, this is different. In that everything that is being different, that in the essence of every differences that you see in this sarvam idam, in all these things, there has to be one entity which is Satyam, and that is truth, and that's how the teaching started, that existence alone became many, and that the existence still exists as the pure existence, undifferentiated and in and through all this idam sarvam, and that in fact is the essential teaching itself. So aitadatmya vidagam sarvam tat satyam sa atma tattvamasi svetaketu. So that's what the scripture itself is pointing, that in these transformations, in these realities of the transactional reality, there is absolute reality as the very substantive itself. And that's what is essentially Vedanta is trying to point out. And that's exactly what Advaita Vedanta is emphasizing, that in all these things that you see, there are two aspects of involved. One is the real and another apparently real. And that's what apparently real means, mithya, and the real reality is the paramarthikam. And therefore every mithya has to have a substantive which is the very support for all the creation, and that is Brahman. So when we are talking about the creation, we brought in Ishvara and we brought the varieties of varieties, but Ishvara pervades everything and he is the very substantive of everything, and that Ishvara, that substantive which is changeless, is nothing but the Paramarthika Satyam, which is absolute. So we have absolute and we have a relative also. All these things are to be understood, and this is what Advaita, fundamentals of Advaita involved. Now we go into the next detail, what else is that Maya and what is the difference between Maya and Avidya. All this need to be very clear. This we will do in the next talk. We'll stop here. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Sishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Sri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.